Good afternoon, everybody. This is Carrie Getz. Welcome to another edition of this podcast series, Careers for Women, Trades, and Vets in Tech. And today we are lucky enough to have Bill McNutt here. Bill, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody what you do.
Well, hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me. My name is Bill McNutt, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Co-location Operations for ColoHouse. And I manage and oversee all of the operations for ColoHouse in the data center environments. Also keep track of the uptime of the data centers, all the equipment, the mission critical equipment, cooling environments, and all of our product suite.
So you still have, an hour to sleep at night? Is that how that works?
No, I don't get much of that. Being on calls 24/7, as your point of escalation, I'm always attached to my phone at some point in time throughout the day, throughout the night. So I don't know how my
I think a
wife.
lot of us are. A lot of us are. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this role and what led you to Mission Critical, because clearly we all have different paths into this industry. So let us know what yours is.
So I got into this role. In April of 2022, I joined ColoHouse. I've been approached by several of the leadership teams that I've worked with in the past. We built some successful companies and organizations together. One of the main ones being a co-location company called Telex. And we were able to successfully organically grow the sales and turn it from a multi-million-dollar company into a private equity acquisition to Digital Realty for about $1.9 billion in 2015. So this really just kind of fit, my interest in where I've had success throughout the industry. Prior to that, I spent over 10 years in the Air Force in the communication roles. Thank you. In communication, communication roles for communication squadrons. We supported various different types of organizations throughout my military career, through a wide variety of technology platforms.
Awesome. So did you go straight from the military into the data center world, or did you have a stint doing something else in between?
No, so actually, when I joined the Air Force, my intent was to stay for 20 years and retire. But in 1996, it was a new frontier on the public sector with the .com taking off and launching, and the military downsizing. I had a unique opportunity to join a company through some contacts of mine in Dallas, Texas, as a data technician. And because I worked in communications throughout my military career, building up fiber infrastructure platforms, mainframes, core networks, radar towers, and support, high security networks that were used in mission critical environments that supported everything from space programs, nuclear programs, strategic commands, and various intelligence agencies. It just was perfect timing. So I was able to get out on a program called Palace Chase, and where I left my active duty role and stepped into the public sector, but still maintained my military responsibilities through the National Guard services, which I did for an additional 5 years afterwards. So.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I don't think a lot of people realize how translatable a lot of the skills that military personnel learn are in this industry. And that's part of the reason that they're in such great demand, because of things like being able to think quick on your feet, a lot of the skills that came up through communications, but even on the other side, some of the construction, there's a lot of skills in the military, project management, that are just really, really directly related to this industry. And I think it's great that you got to find a niche right out of service to be able to join the industry. And it's kind of cool that you started from just being a tech and now you're running operations. So tell everybody a little bit about how that journey went and how you kind of climbed the ladder, what led to your different increases throughout your career.
So, when I joined the public sector in 96, I really did not have any idea what I was getting into. Starting as a data technician back when data was in its infancy, and not a lot was known about it. I was able to get out, and I had a hunger, for knowledge. So fortunately, I was able to attend a lot of training platforms that was provided by the company, and was put into some unique projects. In fact, one of the very first projects that I was on when I got out of the military was installing a large uh, data network for Dallas County Community College, which actually, after we deployed this large network, was mentioned in the first Data Center for Dummies guide book that was out there. So I think that really launched me. My military background and training and drive really helped me climb the ranks. When I mastered building networks, and understood the routers and really had hit my limit with that, I started helping out organizations in the engineering platform. Before I knew it, I became an inside plant engineer, then an outside plant engineer, which led eventually into me taking over as an operations manager for that small startup company. Um, it really hooked me was the acquisition part of it. Since it was a startup, I was part of a company that was acquired by AT&T, and that was a unique experience. So quickly after that acquisition was complete, I had another opportunity to go to another startup company. Within several months, that company was acquired. I got to go through that process, leading their operations teams, which is a process to say the least. And shortly after that, another opportunity came by, and before I knew it, I had done successful startups such as Brooks Fiber to WorldCom, LCI International to Quest, Telcion on fiber to Quest CenturyLink, and then Telex to Digital Realty. So I kind of found my niche in the market with private organizations, taking them on through either sale or acquisition.
Let's talk a little bit about day-to-day operations. I know you touched on some of the things that you do, but how would you say that private operations are different from military operations, or maybe highlight some things in operations that are particularly cool for people to know about?
So I think so day to day operations is basically, you look at it through a military mission and objective, right? Um, we have a data center. That data center has mission critical equipment and systems that have to maintain their operating environments 24/7. Along with that, there's also the security threats, security breaches. In some instances, I've ran data centers that were in on the Homeland Security's top global threat list. So you constantly have to be vigilant, from the building envelope all the way in to ensure that your operating is maintained at 7/24, 365 days a year, no downtime. So in the military, what I've learned from all of the emergency recalls, um, the deployment drills, the training in anti-terrorism, going through standard operating procedures constantly, all types of drills. It really got me into the mindset that I was always prepared for deployment at any given time, and I had to do that on multiple times throughout my career. In fact, the onset of my career, I traveled about 260 days out of each year on TDY. So I was on a small team of communications engineers who we traveled throughout the U.S. and through the Pacific Air Force region, PACAF. And during that time, I got to experience a lot of unique events, such as I lived through the volcanic eruption in 1991 in the Philippines. Lived through multiple hurricanes on the Florida coast when I worked at the JFK John F. Kennedy Center at NASA. Dealt with wildfires, and then actually had to do search and rescue during the Oklahoma City tornado, the F5 tornado that hit them in the early 2000s. So I think those things prepared me, and they could prepare veterans, because they were always put into stressful situations, but you have to keep your cool. You have to keep your mission and your objective always in sight. And you have to learn how to be cool-headed in a reactive environment. That's what I always tell most of my people is, that's what I've learned. I've learned to keep my cool in a highly stressful situation and worry about the root cause analysis and the postmortem after things have been stabilized.
That's kind of the reason for the post part of postmortem, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You talked a little bit and touched a little bit about some anti-terrorism things. What are some things from that piece of life that you could give to people in the data center business now? Things to look out for, things maybe that they should pay attention to, something
Mm-hmm.
that would give them a nice little benefit of some of your professional wisdom.
Yeah. So, I mean, you always want to make sure that your building envelope or data center envelope is always protected, for for sites that have large acreage. Then you want to make sure that you have a good perimeter fence, with a protective wire, protective wiring around the top of it. You want to have your up to date security systems, camera systems, that have they give you a wide visibility of all of your ingress and egress throughout your facility. And you also want to keep note as to traffic patterns. Who's driving by the data center? Is there a pattern? Is there someone sitting out there outside that is just out of the norm, right? So you look for threats and you try to thwart threats anytime that they come through. And then you're always challenging and keeping a vigilant eye on customers that enter your data center, making sure that people don't piggyback when they go into a data center environment or a production environment atmosphere. In downtown Atlanta, when I ran one of the highest threat centers on the Homeland Security list, we had to constantly deal with foot traffic coming by the building, people that would hang out, stand outside, drop bags, leave them out, just leave things around the building. And our teams constantly had to go out and ensure that if they saw something, see something, say something, and then prompt the management, and then involve the police department if need be to ensure that we didn't experience any type of terrorist activity.
What was probably your biggest surprise coming into the private sector from the public sector? What shocked you the most as far as a way of doing things, different operations,
Mm-hmm.
maybe attitudes? What's something that you took away as a big lesson right off the bat?
I think coming into it, the biggest lesson that I learned and what I was really surprised about was the fact of the flexibility that I had. Right, people actually were willing to listen, take on the new ideas that I had, implement them if they made sense, and really allow me to do things that I normally on a daily basis wouldn't get to do, especially in a military atmosphere. So I was able to explore my creativity, which turned into a lot of future success, and that's the main thing that I can come up with.
What would you tell people that are going through that transition right now? Some resources they should think about, maybe some different areas within our sector that is particularly suited to military personnel coming out that were similarly situated to you. Where would you suggest they start?
You know, First and foremost, if I think veterans should definitely do their homework. There's a lot if you're interested in the technology industry, because it is as large and vast as it is. It's actually a small group of individuals that you run across on a consistent basis. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past, I continue to work with today and run across our paths cross quite often. But there are a lot of avenues out there, right? Recruiting being one. Find a veteran-based recruiter. There are a lot of companies out there. Prior to coming on board here, I worked with a veterans-based company that hired, predominantly all veterans. So there are organizations, there are recruiters that are veteran-focused, and they can help place you in the right, with the right company that has the right opportunity for growth. And then there's a bunch of training out there, right? So coming out of the military, you've got social platforms such as LinkedIn. They offer a lot of premier services to the military veteran coming out. And when military veterans do engage in their premier services, what they'll find is there's a lot of training for whatever interest they may have in the data center industry and beyond. Snyder Electric has a university program that can really take you through the platforms of data center operations, environments, cooling. There's the APC has their own sets of courses. There are a ton of companies out there that really have basic courses to help you succeed when you get into this industry.
And how do you go about finding your niche? So you ended up in operations. Clearly, you started out as a data center tech and worked your way up through operations. But there's millions of jobs in this industry, from construction all the way through to operations. How would you suggest people think about these different career paths and where they might fit in? Are there resources you think that they should contact? I know iMasons has a really good veterans program, 7x24, AFCOM. A lot of those that we mentioned in the book are great resources for people to go to and see. But are there any organizations that you're aware of that might be particularly helpful to veterans?
Sure. I mean, of course, the infrastructure basins is one of the huge ones, as well as the other ones. There are companies out there such as Salute Mission Critical is a good company for veterans to enter upon. Those type of companies offer training programs, right off the bat to really help help people from their entry level techs find their path. For me, starting out as a technician, I took my military drive and focus on missions and objectives, and it just really it really overlaid well into the company environment, and it allowed me to have opportunities just to grow. And militaries create leaders, and that's what I wanted to be. So I find pleasure and success in leading groups of people and teams. When I was in the military, that was the one thing that was really, really great about my career, is that I worked with the same group of people. We were a team. Not only a team, we were a family. We watched our families grow together. We hung out together on our off times. We worked together and really just developed that close knit bond. And so I try to do the same thing with the teams that I build as well. I try to develop really strong teams that are passionate about what they do, and that they also know that their leaders are passionate about them, their families, when they go home at night as well, right? Because there's a lot of sacrifices that not only the people in this industry make, but their families.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially when something goes wrong and it's all hands on deck. It
Yes, those
happens
are
for
very
sure.
stressful situations. So,
Was there ever a time throughout your career that you thought, man, I just need to go back to the military and forget it? Or have you always had it's always been kind of a cool direction for you and you're happy where you went?
I think every veteran at some point in time, if they didn't retire, does have that question come across their mind. Of course, it came across mine several times, but you know, in the technology industry that we're in, there is so much cool growth and future opportunities that and if you're passionate about what you do, like I am, those questions are quickly answered, and you go into the next biggest and best thing.
What's the coolest technology you've seen in the last couple years that gets you excited?
The coolest technology. There's a ton of platforms out there. Everything from the high speed networks to the bare metal server systems. I did a stint where I worked for a year with a company that did blockchain and artificial intelligence, and that was a really cool platform as well. They operate their data centers a little differently than we do in traditional data center environments. Um, but a lot of cool technology, a lot of high speed, a lot of power being utilized. Um, that's where I think the growth's obviously going to go. Artificial intelligence, as we grow forward in the future, is going to it's going to consume more power, require more cooling, and take up more space in all of our data centers.
That is a true statement. That is a true statement. And I think that really begs to some of the innovation possibilities that we have in this industry, is how to make these things that don't necessarily always operate the way they should operate in a much more environmentally friendly way. sustainability is certainly a big part of this industry, but I think even down to the equipment, there's some low hanging fruit that we've all, this industry kind of has always done because it's risk averse. And right, if it hasn't broken,
Hmm.
don't break it. And nobody wants to be the first to try something. But certainly, all of these new innovations lead us to be much better. And in certain parts of the world, I think they're going to be critical for them just to even participate because they don't have a lot of the infrastructure in some of their places that we do. So I think to me, some of that technology is super promising.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. With our data centers and the way that we focus on sustainability, right? We want to use the bleeding edge technology. We want to keep our PUE as low as possible, and lower our carbon footprint as well, right? So you know, optimization and efficiencies are key to the teams that I manage and lead. That's where we really strive to succeed. So we try to really ensure that we're maximizing our equipment, our operating environments, we're lowering our operating costs, and we're lowering our tax on the power grid as much as we possibly can.
I think we're going to see a lot of people become smarter and smarter about computing. And I think that we really have to reach the end user base with some of this so that they realize that they have a part in all of this sustainability as well. People don't realize how much it takes to send a picture around, for instance.
Mhm.
Not that that's going to stop some, but it might stop some others.
Gotcha. No, you're 100% correct. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you'll see this go, right down to the edge, edge networks, right? Even down to the households. There's a lot of leading edge technology that I know is on the forefront that's going to come in and really change how we operate our environments with everyone's commitment to be carbon neutral as we possibly can be in the future. You're going to see some really cool technologies coming in to play, down the line, right? Anything from more efficient cooling systems, refrigerants that are being utilized within our HVAC environments, down to potentially immersion cooling, right? Which is one of the new onsets of the future, especially as far as they have gotten with the new immersion cooling platforms and solutions being non-corrosive, and in the years to come, maybe even cryogenics. Who knows?
Who knows? That could be something. Freeze a server till it decides to give me $1 million.
There you go.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes,
I
it would.
think Yeah, I think a lot of this technology is great. Let's go back just a little bit to the transitioning officers and to TAP officers that might be listening. How do we better engage TAP officers as an industry to get them to be more aware of our jobs to steer veterans in those directions?
I think as far as I'm concerned, in how I focus with ColoHouse, it's one of the key things we need to do is just let everybody know that we are veteran friendly, that we look for veterans. Veterans really operate well in this environment, and we've had a lot of success. We can do that through our recruiting platforms and technologies, job postings, the social the social recruiting that we currently utilize, whether it be Indeed, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be just a use of a local recruiter. We really just need to get out there um, to the veteran-based programs, infrastructure basins, and so on and so forth, and just make ourselves known, and really let the officer that's getting ready to get out know that we need great leaders, and because we need great leaders, we need great troops, we need to develop successful teams, right, that can thrive in a very stressful and reactive environment.
Definitely stressful. Hopefully not reactive. If we do it right, we shouldn't have to react to anything, but we know that's not really going to happen.
Right,
It would be
right, right.
nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice. So we're getting kind of close to our time here. If you had some parting words of wisdom for people either getting into the environment, for other vets that might be considering data centers, some things that would help them be successful in their journeys, what would you say?
You know, what I would say is, first and foremost, don't be intimidated coming into the public sector, right? Your military training, you're already set up for success. You just need to be ensure that you're flexible, right? that you communicate clearly, that you hold yourself accountable to core values, and be flexible, just be a reliable individual, and do some homework before you get out there and reach for whatever position that you want to reach for. Don't just select anything and everything. Figure out what you want to do, and then figure out how to do it, right? And reach out to your military recruiters and your veteran programs, and to your base leaders, and I'm sure that they'll lead you into this industry, and we're always out keeping an eye out for you.
Yeah, I think too that there's a lot of opportunity for people to go get data center tours. If you want to go look at one, kick the tires, ask folks, most of the data center operators are more than happy for you to come tour their site and answer all those questions. Are
Sure.
you guys the same, or do you guys encourage that?
Yeah, well, yes, we're obviously open to that. There are a lot of events that happen throughout the year, either the 724 events, the PTC events, where data centers such as ColoHouse and others will open their doors and do tours to veterans that are oncoming. Just if they want to, anybody that's interested in seeing a data center and the inside of a data center, just speak with their leader. Make sure that it doesn't overstep any boundaries or breach any security policies or protocols the company has in place. And then when you're inside, just really take everything in, see how it operates. That's what brought me really into this sector was when I worked in the military. Some of the places I worked in, they were what I considered white space, not necessarily data center environments, but there was a lot of servers, a lot of really cool technology that was inside, and I wanted to know what it was, how it operated, and how they kept it going. So that's really about all I can tell you at this time.
Yeah, and I think the operators are super happy to answer those questions. Matter of fact, I would say throughout this industry, you will find no shortage of people that will support you, help you figure out what the technology is along the way. It really is an amazing industry for that reason, particularly.
No, absolutely, it is. And I'm excited to see where the future grows. Right, I've watched it myself since I've entered into this space, and we're just going to be. We need more space, more power, on a consistent basis.
For sure. And that's not going to change anytime soon, or probably ever.
Right?
Unless they outlaw computing, which I don't see happening
No,
for
I don't.
sure.
No,
I
I
think
don't either.
there's last I read about 300,000 jobs that need to be filed over the next 2 years. So if you are a veteran and you're considering transitioning into a really amazing industry, please check out some of the players in the data center industry. You can reach out to folks like Bill, myself, anybody else on this podcast series. We're all happy to help you. We look forward to you joining the public sector. And for all of the rest of you, thank you so much for listening. Bill, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Have a great day.
Thanks. Have a great day.